1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men over the age of 50 will have an actual osteoporotic fracture. These statistics really bother me. I just sat there thinking, there's something you can do about bone health. There's something that you can do. And it was just like this light bulb flash moment for me. In that moment, my life changed. Shortly after my grandpa died, my grandma didn't want to be alone anymore, and so she came to live with me and also with my young family. My grandma loved little kids, and I had 1 little kid and 1 baby at that point in time. And my grandma came to live with me, and it was a joyful experience for my whole family. My children had the experience of getting to know their grandma and to love her and play with her. My grandma would get down on the floor and she would push cars back and forth with my toddler little boys. She would push them on the swing. She would read stories to them. And she loved this experience and having them and being able to cuddle and hug them. My grandma was also a friend for me. We went on walks together. We would travel. We would go shopping together. We would go through and do all of my daily errands together. We had a wonderful experience together, but it all changed when my grandma had her first hip fracture. She had climbed up on an ottoman to shut some curtains, and she fell off of the ottoman and broke her hip. This led to her having to have it surgically repaired, and then she went into a rehabilitation center for a period of a few weeks, and then she came home with a walker, and our whole life changed. It changed dramatically. She could no longer get down on the floor and play with grandbabies the way that she had been. She was a lot slower. I remember we went for a walk one day through the neighborhood, and it was slow going with the walker, and my grandma loved walking. She would walk for several miles every day, and then when she came home and had the walker, it was totally different. We were about halfway through our usual walking route, and she just paused and she just looked at me and she's like, "Can you get the car? This is really hard." And so I left her with a neighbor friend, and I went and I got the car, and it was just really hard. It changed our lives and everything that she could do. I watched my grandma go from being free to do all of the things that she liked and enjoyed to losing her freedom and her ability to do that. Her inability to maintain her lifestyle in the way that she wanted left her where her bones became weaker. And a few years after the experience with the first hip fracture, she had a second hip fracture. She was walking down the hall slowly with her walker, and she fell. What caused the fall was actually her bones being so soft that her femur, the big bone in your thigh, it went through her hip bone, and it caused her to fall because she'd had a fracture. We took her to the hospital, and this time the doctor said that her bones were so soft that they couldn't operate. And so they sent her home with me non-weight bearing for 6 weeks. So for 6 weeks she was in a wheelchair while the fracture healed. During this time, I had to lift her in and out of a wheelchair. I had to lift her in and out of bed. I had to lift her on and off of the toilet. I had to help her to do everything that she had to do in her life. It was an overwhelming experience for both my grandma and for me in every way. I don't want anyone to have to experience what my grandma and I went through. I didn't know at that point that there was anything that you could do to help improve bone health. I took my grandma to her doctor appointments, and we did everything the doctors told us for her to get better. But her life changed dramatically. She lost freedom. She lost the ability to do the things that mattered to her in life. So to fast forward a few years after this experience, a few years after my grandma died, I had the opportunity to do a yoga teacher training. I had always practiced yoga. For me, yoga was a wonderful way that I could exercise. Having little kids and not having to go someplace, I would exercise at home, and it was just something that I really enjoyed. And then as my kids got older And when my grandma was no longer living with me after she had died, I did a yoga teacher training. And while I did that, there was a moment in my teacher training where one of the teachers in my training was also a physical therapist, and she mentioned just in passing that research had been done about how yoga could be used to help when people had osteoporosis. And she also talked about the importance of weight-bearing exercise for women as we get older, and that it helps to maintain bone health. And she was just talking about these as general health-related things. But for me, I sat in this room with 30 people thinking to myself, I didn't hear any of the other people or the chatter in the room. I just sat there thinking, there's something you can do about bone health. There's something that you can do. And it was just like this light bulb flash moment for me. In that moment, my life changed. I knew in that moment that I had to know everything that I could learn about how to help people with bone health. And I wanted to help people. It was this momentum, this shift for me in that moment. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do as a yoga teacher and in my professional life moving forward. And so that's what I did. And so after I finished my yoga teacher training, I had the opportunity to follow that up with doing a yoga teacher training that was specific to yoga and osteoporosis. And I did that with Dr. Lauren Fishman, who has at this point done decades of research about yoga and osteoporosis and has come up with some things that can be done with yoga to help with osteoporosis. And then I've also done a Bone Fit certification, which is outside the realm of yoga. And then when I first started working in this space, people started asking me nutritional questions that I didn't know the answers to, and I wanted to be able to help. So I enrolled in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and I spent a year becoming a certified nutritional health coach so that I could help to answer some of those nutritional questions as well. What I didn't realize when my grandma had her hip fractures is how many people are affected by osteoporosis. I've come to realize that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men over the age of 50 will have an actual osteoporotic fracture. These statistics really bother me. I think we can do better. I think that there's something that we can do through lifestyle changes. Something that I learned in my Bone Fit training is that the goal is to be too fit to fracture. And that's my personal goal. I want to be too fit to fracture, and I want to help you to be too fit to fracture too. That's what led me to create this YouTube channel and to also create a Facebook group. It's Bone Builders and Osteopenia and Osteoporosis Support Group over on Facebook if you're interested in coming to join that particular group. And I've also created a fitness program that's specific for bone health. I've done this so that you don't have to experience what my grandma and I experienced together. I've done this so that you and other women will have the support that you need to improve bone health. So if there are topics that you would like to have me cover or talk about on this channel, please leave me a comment and let me know what you'd like me to make a video about. I am here to support and help you in your journey to better bone health. Talk soon.